Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Magic in the Steps. And I'm Sharon, codependent, and this is my husband.
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a codependent.
So we came today so we can all do the 12 steps together and see where we are, how we feel, how it's going to move us, and hopefully after this seminar and the whole weekend, we're going to feel moved and exhilarated and excited, and that's what we are being here. So we're also going to pass out the 12 steps, or does everybody have it?
On the table, you'll find there's a copy of the 12 steps. Please take one and utilize it. You can make notes on it. It's yours to keep, obviously. We are going to be calling on everybody to come and participate as well. No buts.
We wanted to start with everybody relaxing and closing your eyes. We're just going to take a deep breath and another deep breath. And inhale, so we're relaxed. And we're going to say our serenity prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll go ahead first. We're both going to do some sharing. And that's what we're hoping that everybody's going to do today. And we're going to do the 12 steps on what it means for all of us. But first of all, I wanted to tell everybody and explain who I am and why I'm here and what this program has done for me through my experiences, strengths, and hope. So I'll make this brief and as quick as I can. And I just want to say, when I was growing up, I had a mother and father that were still together, and I had a father who was very angry and mad and very jealous. And I had a mother who was extremely beautiful. And she was in the movie business when she was younger, and she had a lot of boyfriends. Well, growing up, I didn't really know much of the difference because I was learning from my mom it was my dad's fault why she had cheated. Because he called her a cheater, he didn't trust her. So those were the reasons that I believed my mother stepped out. And I didn't understand that she had problems of her own. And at 15 years old, she took me with her. So that way she could hide her boyfriends behind my father's back. It's a big burden to carry when you're a teenager. And you love your father very much, and you're wanting to learn some trust. And you really knew the world didn't have any at that point in time for me. But the one thing I said is, not me. I'm not going to grow up, and I'm not going to be like them. And as a teenager, when I was young, I became a hairdresser at 16 years old. I figured I'm going to be something, make something of myself, and I was very good. So I did hair for many years. And I got married when I was young. I moved out, got away from my parents, never told my father what my mom was doing. So I felt that I hid that secret and carried that burden for many years. As I got older and I got married and I became a hairdresser, I not only found myself in the same position, but even worse. My first husband was very abusive and verbally, physically, and I didn't think I deserved any better. I didn't think very much of myself. I didn't have any respect. I wasn't shown really what respect was. All I did was work, and I was raising children. Unfortunately, as I got older, in a young age though, I became physical disabled in different ways. I've had quite a few surgeries. I've been permanently disabled. My liver had failed on me, and I had challenges. But I still didn't think I was worth it. So one day at a time, I just was surviving. I was just breathing. And I left my first husband because I was unhappy, and I thought it was all his fault. Didn't know everything that happened wasn't me. That's all I knew. It was all about me, and I was the victim, and I just picked the wrong man. So the second husband I chose, I was madly in love with. And I thought, he's charming and he's wonderful, and I'm not going to follow the same patterns of character as my family of origin, so I thought. I figured that I'd be trustworthy and faithful, but that's about all I knew of it. So in my second marriage, and I'm married 23 years, we've been together 24, the first 20 years was pretty dysfunctional, and I really didn't know the difference. And as I thought I wasn't going to be like my parents, I was pretty angry, pretty jealous, and didn't think I was worth anything. And I married somebody who was inappropriate and was like my mom, very charming, but he was inappropriate with family, co-workers. And so I found myself in the same position as my father. I thought I wasn't going to step out or cheat, but I was exactly in the same place. By doing my steps, I realized that I had everything in common with both my parents. And I just ended up being like my father, who was very jealous and angry. And then when we had both come to terms with what was going on after 20 years, in September 2008, we had split up and I had filed for divorce. At that time, again, I felt I was a victim. I was very upset. I didn't do anything wrong, and I wasn't responsible, but I didn't feel I was any good, and I didn't think it was worth it. So the first time that I ever came to CoDA, I went to a counselor, and I went with the self-pity all my life, and this is where I am, wasn't living life, and it was passing me by. And she had good news for me the first day I walked in there. She said, "You're going to survive." And at that point in time, I wasn't so sure that was a good thing, but it was. And she told me about codependency, and I'm thinking, codependency? Me? Nah, I don't think so. Who am I dependent on? I didn't understand it. So the first time that I walked into the meeting, I was so lost and didn't understand what CoDA was about. I'm going to share my story with you. I walked in, and when everybody said, "Thank you for sharing," I thought they meant me. So I clapped. "Oh, you're welcome. Okay, thank you." And I just didn't get it. But I knew I was in the right place because we went through the traditions and the steps, and oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. And then since my program, I have learned to take responsibility for myself, that I have choices. Who I pick in my life are choices. And as I went through the steps, which we'll do together, I had learned, even though my parents were dysfunctional, my mom, she had issues that she couldn't address because she didn't know. She didn't have a wonderful program like this, and neither did my father. So I learned that I love them both, and I pick what I like about my father and what I admire about him. I picked up with my mother how beautiful she was and how and the charm, and I picked what I liked and threw away the rest. So I decided that being like your parents isn't always bad, but for some reason, we don't always pick the good parts. We just pick the bad family of origin. So through this program, I started over. I had never felt peace like I feel today. Serenity was a word I thought that was made up. When I first felt the peace and took responsibility, there was a weight lifted. There was a freedom. I felt that the bondage was taken off of my leg. And it was so exhilarating. I am here today because I want to share with you our strengths and hopes and experiences, we're still together. And you know, it's almost been 4 years. We've had the best last 4 years than we've had in 24. I realize that the issues that he had were his. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything, but I had to learn where it was my fault and what I was doing to make the difference. So today I live a different life. I not only have a better relationship with my husband, I have a better relationship with my children. I have a great relationship with my grandchildren. I am learning to respond and not to react, which is big for me because as I came to CoDA, I realized I do have issues. I'd get pissed off 0 to 60. I'd let my child ego get behind the wheel of a car and run everybody over. And boy, would I suffer the consequence. It was my fault. I was just angry and mad. And I learned it wasn't doing anything but killing me. It didn't feel good. It wasn't very constructive for me. So I've learned to deal with it in other ways that are healthier for me, healthier for my husband, healthier for my kids. And I'd like to give the help other people with peace and serenity. It does exist. The more I felt it, the more I wanted it. The more I'd soar like an eagle and I'd crash and burn. I think, oh, but I learned to get up again. I was on a roller coaster and I smoothed it out for little bumps. So where my life was totally unmanageable and I was lost, insecure, insignificant, had no self-respect, it's different today. I like myself. I respect myself. I trust myself that that wouldn't happen again. Not because I have power over anybody, but that I have power over myself and that I have choices to make. So today, I hope that when we do the 12 steps, I'd like to hear everybody share a little bit about themselves because that's how I got here as well. Learning from other people's strengths and experiences. Watching other people come into this program in 6 months to a year, they're smiling. They're living. They have serenity and peace. And that's something that every one of us can achieve. It's up to us individually. And this is a personal journey that we're all going to take together. The nice part is I'm not alone, you're not alone. And there's support out there. And that's nice. And it's always there. And when I get to the point where I feel like I'm crashing and burning again, I go right back to step 1. If I feel that it's something that I'm doing and I don't recognize, then I pick out step 10. Today I have the steps incorporated in my life. And I'm going to keep it in my life the rest of my life. Just like when I started Weight Watchers, I became a lifetime Weight Watcher in 1994. I had lost 92 pounds. I knew how to diet and exercise, but I wasn't going to lose a pound until I decided to eat right, eat properly, and exercise. And then I was able to do it. So I figured it's the same thing with this program. It's all up to us and learning the steps and incorporating it in our everyday life. But it is something that I feel, to me, it's a lifelong journey because I only want to keep getting happier. And in my old age, which is coming around the corner, I want peace. And that's something that we can achieve. We just have to want it. Thank you for letting me share. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to my husband, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, good job. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark. I am a recovering codependent. Oh, thank you, my babe. That was inspiring for me even. It's funny. My codependency started when I was probably about 3 – well, actually started probably in the womb. I didn't understand what codependency was and what that was all about until about 4 years ago. I've done some crazy things in my life. I grew up she came from a home that had both parents. I came from the broken home, as some of us did. We've all been through things throughout our lives that have created us to where we are today. We call that the family of origin. We call that the things that have created where we are to bring us to the point we're at now. We've all had things that can really, they make us finally take notice of what's going on in our life. My dad decided when I was 10 years old that he just didn't want anything to do with his family anymore and he'd just go get a new family. I took that very personal. I was the oldest of 3 children. My mom was very, very controlling. I'm sure that I see heads shaking out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that feel the same way, that have gone through the same things. Feeling like I did not know my own life and my own boundaries all my life growing up led me to do some very dark things throughout my life. Thank God, nothing illegal. But to the point where I knew I needed help. And when I finally hit bottom, when Sharon and I split up, it made me really take a step back and look at who I was at 50 years old or 51 years old. Look at who I was and find out, how can I create the magic? The one thing I want to say here and now, I never gave up on us. I always knew deep down inside that Sharon was my soulmate and that I was going to do whatever it took as best as I could for me to recover for myself and let her see that on her own. Because that's what it took for us to be able to maintain the relationship we have now. 4 years later, I can say, you know what? Thank you. And I am so grateful to you for staying with me and sticking through all the tough times that we have had and all the bullshit I put you through. So I'm so grateful to you. You have no idea. Well, you do have an idea, and that's one of the great things that I can show you each and every day. So what we'd like to do now, that's a little bit about me. What we'd like to do now is we've got a PowerPoint presentation. We're actually going to go through the steps, okay? It's very brief. We've got lots of time. And we're going to share some of our strengths, hopes, and experiences of what each step means to us and what the magic. That's what this is, the magic of the 12 steps. We want to share our magic with you. We want to know your magic too. So please, as we go through each step, just come on up. You'll need to use a microphone because this is being recorded. And we want to hear from you because this is your way of giving back as well as ours. So I'm going to get started.
I do step one, right? Step one, which we all come back to all the time. We admitted we were powerless over others, that our lives have become unmanageable. So this is what I wrote and how I felt about it in a PowerPoint presentation. So we can do this in 90 minutes. The first time I got the courage to walk into the meeting, I came to the realization that my life was unmanageable, definitely insane. And I had the power over nobody, and not even myself.
For me, the magic came when I truly understood the word powerlessness. The ability to think you can control others, and it became real. To actually admit and believe, and that really for me was the truth. Believing that I was powerless was a milestone in my recovery. Now, would some people please come up and share what their magic of step one is for them? Oh, come on.
Step one, come on.
Thanks, Katie.
I love step one. What I really liked about step one for me is realizing that that I didn't have to figure it all out, that I could just let go of what other people were doing and having to know in advance what they were thinking so I could prepare for everything. But it also, that powerlessness also gave me an empowerment. And that's when I first realized I had to take responsibility for myself. So it was in letting go of others that I took back my own power, and that I realized that I had choices. I had choices to respect you and let you live your life, and to respect me and make choices of my empowerment and do what it is that I need to do in my life. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Katie. Somebody else please like to share their magic
Everybody
of Power
can
One?
come up here and just stand in line. I'm sure everybody can share a step one. I hope we've all been through step one.
I've been through step one more times than I would like to admit. For me, pardon me, the key with step one is unmanageability. I had to understand what unmanageability meant. Because powerless translated to helpless for me, so that was a little tough. But when I got the concept of unmanageability and what that looked like for me, that helped me to understand powerless. It also helped me to understand in my marriage when I was trying to control things, because unmanageability for me became very glaring very quickly. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, about being powerless. That was difficult for me. The reason is because I'm an only child. There was my mother and me. And it was a constant fight. And I was always trying to break away from that yoke. And so my power was really important because it was a constant war of attrition over whose power was going to win out, hers or mine. And I was always trying to stand my ground. So consequently, when my life took a dive and it wasn't going the way I wanted, it was like, hanker down, buckle down, make it work even more. And I would put more of myself into it, and it just wouldn't work because it wasn't working. So when I had to realize that I was powerless over these events, especially with my marriage, it dissolved in 8 years, okay, I let the Lord take over. I basically, to my higher power, gave up control and said, you handle it. I'm not going to handle it anymore. And by me getting out of the way, it was amazing the changes that would happen. Because when you're trying to micromanage in your own mind, we have only a finite knowledge of solutions or to the problem that we think is going to come through. But when you're dealing with a higher power, you have infinite possibilities. So you've got to allow the possibility of infinite help. And the only way that can happen is by letting go of the reins. You've got to finally relinquish and say, okay, you handle it. I'm out of here. And the big mistake we make is we try to take it back. If we think it's not happening fast enough, then we try to take it back. And it's not going to work like that. When you let it go, give it to him, let it go, and you'll be amazed at how step one works.
Thank you, Greg.
Hi, my name is Gary.
Hi, Gary.
I believe this is a very subtle program, and that in step one, I was first introduced to the concept or the idea of awareness, that I became aware of my unmanageability and my powerlessness over other people. And I didn't understand the power of that idea of awareness. But here's where it was first introduced. And later it would be just built upon and built upon and built upon until I understood that awareness was the start. I could be in denial all my life, and then when I became aware of an issue or a character defect or a character defense, that was the beginning of the change if I chose to do that work. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
Hi, I'm Leo,
Hi, Leo.
and I like and agree with everything that I've heard so far on step one, but it never really clicked for me until I realized that acceptance is a big piece of step one. If I can't accept the fact that you're going to do whatever you're going to do, and I can't accept the fact that things aren't going to go my way, as long as I'm fighting that, as long as I'm trying to work around all that stuff, until I can just accept that that's the way it is, and the only thing I can do is ask my higher power for help. A couple of steps later on, as we used to say in another program, I can't, he can, think I'll let him. And it's the short version of the first 3 steps. And I need to get the I can't part through my thick blankety blank skull. And that is acceptance. And as long as I am not in acceptance, I can have no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this point in time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I'm Artie, grateful recovering codependent,
Hi, Artie.
and I'm also a grateful recovering compulsive gambler. And I learned about the first step when I was 29 years old, and I walked into a meeting after losing some money, and my wife at the time left me and took my 1-year-old son with him. And the only way she'd come back is if I went into Gamblers Anonymous. And so I read the first step, and pretty much was in denial. I couldn't even say I was a compulsive gambler. I said I was a binge gambler. And, the first step for me over the years really had to do with honesty. And I've gone through the steps, and certainly step one countless times over and over and over again, to the point that 6 years in this time, I really did get it in terms of I was powerless over others. The real trigger for me in terms of getting honest with myself and looking in the mirror took a long, long time, and it could only come as a result of seeing how unmanageable my life became. And that awareness took a very, very long time, because, as I always still say today, how does one that's insane come to the realization that one is insane? And that's certainly, my understanding of the situation. But a little over 6 months ago, I moved away, and I didn't separate from my relationship, but I moved away and got away from the fellowship, got away from meetings, got away from who I was really, and the home and the family that I've gathered in these rooms. So I learned something that I've heard about many, many times over years and years ago, which was that we were powerless over people, places, and things. And basically after 6 months, my life became insanely unmanageable, to the point of me coming back and realizing that I was this close to losing it and just changing my name, I was just gone. I was never going to come back to LA ever again, and came to one of these awakenings. I had a spiritual awakening, and decided to come back. And I'll close with this. Again, this powerless over people, places, and things, I never understood what that meant. People I got, but places, I moved to this place, Sedona, Arizona, and I was enthralled. It was kind of like going to Vegas, in the old days. But literally, I came to the understanding that I was powerless over places and things, that it didn't have to just be people. And that was a really magical experience for me. Thanks.
Thank you. We have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Twee. I'm codependent.
Hi, Twee.
I'm so nervous to be up here, but I want to push my recovery forward. So I wanted to share that before recovery, I was so worried about what people thought of me. And I grew up thinking that it was possible to control how people thought of me by how I acted or what my facade was outside. And my magic with this step was learning that no matter what I did, no matter what I said, I could not control what someone thought of me. I was completely powerless, despite the perfect image that I tried to portray. Despite all of that, there was nothing that I could do to get someone to think a certain way about me, and that was insane. That was unmanageable. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Okay. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Sharon?
Okay. Yeah, I think step 1 brought us all together, huh? Here's step 2. Step 2 gave me a newfound sense of freedom. That's when I got not my life back, but a life. One of faith and hope that my higher power could restore me back to sanity, which again, it wasn't back to sanity, it was sanity for the first time.
I always had a strong belief in God. Throughout my entire life, I believed that God was there for me and with me, helping me along the way. By working this step, I was able to truly understand that I could not restore my sanity alone. And for most of my life, I really believed I was alone. I really, truly did.
Anybody want to share where they came to believe in their higher power? Come on up.
Come on up.
I'm Laura, and I'm a codependent.
Hi, Laura.
I'm in the process right now of really internalizing a higher power that's there for my best interest and loving and not an abusive father. Coming from a family of religious people where the religion itself was abusive, my home was abusive, my parents were leaders in the church, and there was a lot of abuse going on there. I struggled so hard, and I still do struggle so hard to see, to not create God in the image of my abusive father, but rather to let God be God and me be humble and needing a God who's not going to put me down, who's not going to hurt me, who's not going to wait until I trust, just wait until I trust and then slam me down. And I'm so grateful for this program. I'm brand new to CoDA, and I'm so grateful for the program. I feel like just going over and over the steps in each meeting that I'm beginning to really open up to just the great, I don't know what the word, the grace of it all, the fact that there is something that's loving and holding and that we can lean into, that I can lean into and not be full of terror. And I'm very grateful. So I'm on the step, but thank you.
You know, even if you haven't worked the steps, come up and tell us what magic you'd like to see from the step. Please, we really want to hear from you.
Hi, my name's Evie. I'm a grateful, recovering codependent.
Hi, Evie.
Hi, everybody. I had a huge amount of difficulty with both steps 2 and 3 because for a whole bunch of reasons. One is that there was religious abuse in my family growing up, and then also I had set my life up so that I had to be totally responsible for everything. I was a single parent for most of my son's life. I had no family around. I had a really demanding job. I mean, I set it up that way. And I set it up that way because I didn't trust anybody, and I certainly didn't trust a higher power. And through the grace of this program, what I discovered, this step was the start of the miracle for me. I didn't have much trouble with step 1 because by the time I got to CoDA, I had had years of therapy and years of a whole bunch of other stuff, and I was pretty sure that my life was unmanageable, and I was also pretty clear that if I couldn't do it, then I had to be powerless over it. And the miracle for me in this program was discovering a higher power of my own understanding, and not the one that was forced on me as a child. It's taken me years and years. I've been in CoDA a long time. It's taken me years and years and years to get even slightly clear about what my higher power is. But what it is for me today is it's something inside of me that knows what's right for me. That's connected to the rest of the universe and everybody else's higher powers. And as long as I continue to believe that my higher power can restore me to sanity, that my life works. And the minute I forget that, my life stops working. So I will always be eternally grateful for having found this program when I did. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. That was great.
Hi, I'm Sharon, codependent.
Hi, Sharon.
And I remember my step 2 very vividly. And I had come into this program at the end of a relationship. Well, yeah, it wasn't quite over yet, but it was getting there. And I remember crying. I mean, it's all I could do was cry every day. I was going to meetings every day, and the only time I felt good was when I was in a meeting. And anyway, I was at home, and I was really frustrated, and I remember I was so tired of crying, and I grew up not really knowing whether or not I believed in God. I didn't really have a strong religious upbringing. I just had this whole weird thing that even when I first came into program, God, anything, it just felt brainwashing. I had a book that it's not a CoDA book, so I'm going to talk about it. But anyway, it was like ignored everything that had to do with higher power. It just didn't get it. So anyway, but I guess in me somewhere, I did believe in God, because I looked up and I went, God, I'm so tired of crying. I just want to be angry. And I sat down at the computer, and I guess, I don't remember the exact situation anymore, which is really good because it was a long time ago, but he had been at the computer and he left like his email open and he left it there. And all of a sudden I'm seeing all these lies and all this stuff. And I was like, I got angry, and the sadness went away. And I remember I called my sister and she said, oh, thank God you're back. And I felt it, like I felt myself come back into my body in that moment. And that was it. I was like, I believe in God now, and from then it changed to so many different things. It's like nature, it's walking on the beach, it's somebody showed me a picture early of like God rays. Whenever I go on a trip by myself, I see these God rays that open up and I know I'm taken care of. Music on the radio, still to this day, ooh, child, things are going to get easier. I mean, I hear that, and it, like right at the right time. And that was a lot when I was first in program. But for me, that whole belief of God being like needing to believe that a God is outside of me for a period of time until realizing as well that it is in me and it is connected. And I'll just bring to the most current in my life, a little over a year ago, I had gotten a diagnosis of cancer. And I thought I remembered being out of control and all this stuff. And I mean, like, oh my God, and freaking out, which I was. But I went to my meeting that night, and it was a women's writing meeting. And I didn't share, but I journaled. And this year I went back and I read what I wrote, and I was blown away. It was all like, God must have a plan for me. This has got to be God's will. And I was just like, wow, like it's in me. It is part of how I survive and how I, thrive now, I guess, but how I live my life. And it's just what I do. And so it really helped me. I don't know that I sat down and worked the steps during that time consciously, but it definitely had an effect to help me through that experience. And it's definitely a tool. And I believe in higher power, and I believe it's in these rooms and in everyone I speak to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to share really quick with the steps. This is my 4th year in CoDA, and you couldn't do the steps more than one time. The first year that I did my steps, it wasn't me. So no, I didn't quite get it the first year either. But on my 4th time working the steps, and I've kept all the steps that I've journaled. When I look today at what I wrote and what I wrote 4 years ago, it was completely different. So it's good to work the steps more than once and learn about ourselves. And that's, I think, the magic in the steps, is doing the steps and moving forward. So I will, with step 3,
Good segue.
made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand God. Well, this step reminded me that my higher power was always there. It helped me overcome my fear that ruled my life by reminding me that I could have faith and trust in a higher power.
And step 3 for me was when I finally made the decision to turn my will over to God, life began to make sense. And truly making that decision to turn my will over to God was a huge undertaking for me personally. But it did allow me to look at my higher power and ask, each and every day I ask this, by the way, what is your will for me? And every day I get up now and I ask God, what is your will for me today? Who'd like to share on step 3 what the magic is for them? Even if you haven't completed the step or you haven't worked the steps at all, come tell us what you'd like to see the magic be for you. Please, come share with us.
Or if you want to share more than once, I do it all the time. Nope. Okay, then we'll move on.
All right.
Okay, all right. We can share more than once.
Sherry, I'm codependent.
Hi, Sherry.
I think step 3 for me was the most important step so far, because I feel like it catapulted me into really admitting how unmanageable my life had become. It really helped me to turn over my will, because it was just, my life was just complete chaos. And I feel like this is the step that really, truly, I said, God, I'm going to turn it over to you. And that need for control and wanting to know every decision that I needed to make for every single thing that I need to do from now until I die, I got released from all of that. And when I started step 3, the life that I have now is so completely different from it. And that's because of the power, the magic of this step for me. And I was going to get up and say, the step 1 was such an important step for me because I finally admitted how unmanageable and chaotic my life is. But not until I was in step 3 that I truly, truly understood how unmanageable, how insane, how chaotic I was living my life. And I was so ready to just say, it's all yours. And that just, all the burden of all of the stress that I didn't even know existed, I said, that's it. I don't want any more of this. And that's what God has given me. My higher power has given me. I gave it to him, but at the same time, I'm empowered to do, I don't know what it is that he wants me to do, but I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'm Laura, and I'm just going to share again.
Hi, Laura.
So I was working with a therapist who suggested that I write down who I'm afraid God is without any filter. And I've never done that before because I was terrified that the God that I thought that I was afraid God was going to strike me dead for thinking that God was like that. But I wrote it down without any filters, and he read it and said, "It is absolute sanity to not turn your life over to this God. There is nothing insane about not turning your life over to this God." And so this whole concept of not creating, of a God of our understanding, but not creating God out of an image of abuse, began to make some sense to me, because I thought that I was crazy, that I couldn't trust God. But who I was trying to trust was not God. It was abusiveness. And so I don't mean to harbor about that, but I just felt like that was a real turning point for me, that it's a healthy thing not to trust an abusive God. We don't want to give our lives over to that. Amen. Blessings.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello.
Step 3 was a crisis for me, a huge crisis, and I believe that it pointed to the level of control that I thought I had in my life. I felt like if I turned my will and my life over to God, what was left for me? I really felt that. There was this intense emptiness within me. And the other issue I had was I kept looking to my intimate relationships to fill me and to make me feel better and all of that. And obviously that wasn't working either. And so the magic for me in step 3 was when a woman who had been in the program like a week, not very long, but she looked at me and she said, did you ever think about all those characteristics that you're looking for in these men? Like to be loving and kind, and I never chose loving and kind people, so that didn't work out so well. Did you ever think about shifting that over to God and looking to God to be that thing that you've been looking for on this earth and men? And that's what did it for me. It took a while. This was a huge crisis for me, and I made it through, and I think that's the important part. I believe that we all find our way through this if we hang in there with it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I just want to share real quickly that, the first step was honesty, getting honest for me. And the second step, I've come to believe to be open-minded. And the third step, I've learned is, about willingness. And I just heard in a meeting, about the concept of imagining turning your will and your lives over to the care of God as being turning your thoughts and your actions over to God. So now today my affirmation is I pray only for God's love and God's will for me and the power to carry that out. Thanks.
Very nice. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves.
Aha, step 4. I'd like to know how many people did the workshop sheet in step 4. Can I see some hands? Well, good. I'm glad that everybody is here. If you look in your step 4, there is a workshop sheet. And the first year, I did it. And that's where the magic in the steps really moved me forward. Talk about learning your family of origin, who you are and why, what you like and don't. Then I recommend step 4 for everybody to work the sheet. It's hard, but the most rewarding. And I think that's what I wrote. Step 4 was the hardest step yet for me, but it was the most rewarding. It taught me all about myself. It taught me to be the person I like, and I can respect myself for that today. Living in my higher power's will in an honest, humbling way. Looking in the mirror daily, I realize it is a lifetime practice. I know there's got to be people out there that work step 4 because that was a major turning point for me. So come on up here and share your step 4, especially if you did the workshop sheet.
The workshop sheet she's talking about is from the green workbook, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. And for me, this step by far was the most difficult and intense step in my program. It meant I had to look at my shortcomings, resentments, and family of origin in a way that I never had before. The soul-searching process uncovered things that I had long buried deep within myself. Some of them were very, very dark, and I'm very ashamed, or was very ashamed of them. And they just needed to be brought out before any of my recovery was possible.
Hi, Sharon Codependent.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. And I was so terrified of step 4 coming in, and it was the one that I feared for so long. And what I remember, I used the workbook. It was very different, though. This was like 10 years ago. They've changed it since. But there were like 5 different ways you could choose one, and I think I did them all. But that it was also looking at your positive attributes. And that was huge. And that is actually even harder, to acknowledge ourselves or for me to acknowledge myself for all the positive things, as well as the things that I didn't want anymore. So I remembered thinking, wow, how come nobody talked about that? Or I didn't hear it at that time. So I just wanted to mention that too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gregory, recovering codependent.
Hi, Gregory.
This has been said before, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you talk about 12 steps, but step 4 and 5 and 6, if you look at the 12-step program as an automobile, this is the engine. This is what makes it work. When you get in here and start to do the nitty-gritty and you find out what it is that you're made out of, the things that you've done in the past, also the things that are your attributes, that's where you can really make a change. And when I started the program, we had like 5 different sheets that went through all of these questions, things that I would have never even thought to ask, but we started to go through them. And when you do, you learn things about yourself that you really don't want to see, but you have to face it. It's like looking in a mirror. And if you look in the mirror and you forget what you see and you just walk away, hey, that's why you go in front of a mirror. If you look and you say, hey, man, I got to shave, I got to comb my hair, I got to do, well, for people that have hair, okay, then you make the changes before you go outside. And that's what this is doing. This is a deep reflection of what's going on in your life. And when you start to make these changes, that's when the magic really happens, because you've got to do the work. So this is like getting in there, making sure the compression's good on the engine, making sure the spark is working, you're putting the right fuel in. You're really finding out what's making your car go. This does it. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Greg.
My name is Christian. I'm codependent.
Hi, Christian.
And I'm grateful to be a miracle of God and all of my programs of recovery. I've been around recovery for a long time. I really thought that everything in my life was really going good. God had restored in me so many things in my life, but I hadn't done the work. I was sponsoring guys, being involved in every aspect of it, and I tried. I had some really sponsors that, I thought, oh man, if I tell him what really went on, I'd kill him. I just couldn't do that, and I don't know where, if it was time, if it was God, if it was, the way I did it. But I just recently finished the steps again, and I had that thing, that miracle that happened, cause and condition, and I found those deep-seated things similar like you shared, things from childhood. I had 3 older sisters, and there were things there that I didn't know happened. I mean, just things that were revealed that I couldn't imagine. And all of a sudden I saw why I had all these fears my whole life. The fears that kept me from doing just about anything, everything that normal people would do. And the only way I could deal with it is obviously to overcompensate for my fears. So I became, pretty much an expert on everything, of course. And, the drugs, alcohol, and sex, and everything else that had to be there to fix that hole in my soul. And it was all revealed through this 4th step. And finding the honesty for me is the key. I found somebody to give that 5th step to. Never somebody that I would have ever think in a million years, but for some reason God put this person in my life, and I was able to let it all go. And I stand here today a different person thanks to this inventory process. Thank you.
We have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Sharon. And I thought of something on step 4. When I first started CoDA, I was brand new when I came to my first convention. And I remember one of the first workshops I did was peeling the onion. So I don't know how many of you have peeled that onion or worked the steps yet in step 4 with the worksheet, but that's pretty much what you're doing, is you're peeling the onion and finding out what you tick and why. So now we'll move to step 5. I'm on. Let me turn it on. Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, to another human being, the exact natures of our wrongs. That's a pretty tough one. Step 5 gave me some trust for the first time in a long time, if any at all. I had to admit to myself, my higher power, and my wonderful sponsor without being judged or ridiculed, so I can see my own character defects.
For me, this was a natural progression from step 4. Being able to share what I uncovered in step 4 allowed me to feel a weight lifted off my soul. And I cannot tell you for me how tremendous that was. It was one of the most freeing things I've ever done in my life. Bless you. At the same time, I began truly to uncover the magic of the 12 steps. Who'd like to share about step 5 or what they'd like to see they get from step 5?
Anybody have sponsors, their higher power that they trust and they share with? Come on up. We want to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Gary, and I'm still Gary. This has a multiple faceted thing here in the sense that, when I listed in step 4 my character defects, step 5 was not about, and the first few times I went through step 4, it was like, okay, this is what I listed in step 4, and I just read verbatim, all those things I did. But it was this time going through the steps where my co-sponsor said, so what was the exact nature of those wrongs? And it's like, oh, it's not just about reiterating all the things I did. It's about looking at why I did them. And then I was able to say to God, this is the exact nature of my wrongs. And I used to, and I've heard this, it's not new to me, well, why do I have to tell God? God already knows everything I did. And it's like in so many things, It's like, I know God will give me whatever I ask for, but I have to ask. And that means I have to get humble enough to say, I'm asking. That I can't just expect through some controlling power that God is going to give me what I want, and all I have to do is, think it. I need to get humble enough to say, God, this is what I need. And that's part of this subtle little program. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
Hi, I'm Artie, codependent.
Hi, Artie.
I just want to share because this was really one of the first magical experiences I experienced with the steps. But I spent literally about 4 or 5 years working on step 4. And it began my writing, as overall, because I never wrote, I never read. It was really kind of a new experience for me. But I do remember years and years and years of not only blocking the process and just saying, okay, I'll do it when I'm ready, and kind of procrastinating and all this stuff, which is one of my character defects. But most powerfully and magically, what I learned about steps 4 and 5 was that I could do step 1, 2, 3, and 4 myself. I could come to believe, I could turn it over, I could be honest, I could do this. It's kind of my program, so to speak. I can even take an inventory, even though it took 4 or 5 years to actually put it down on paper. But the process, when I finally did, about 2 years ago, reveal my 4th step inventory through the workbook, because that was a real blueprint for the process for me. And his response was, "That's great." And I was like, really? I don't have to go deeper? I don't have to perfectly do it, so it just was so magical for me to know that, first of all, again, I couldn't share it with God or another person on my own. I had to actually get out of my own self to share it with him. But just that response of you did a great job was the first time in my life that somebody actually, gave me a positive, loving, thing by some type of inventory and the work that I did. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, that's right, I'm even. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Yes, I'm ready for my higher power to help me remove all my shortcomings, because I like the freedom and I like the hope of recovery. At this point, it's not a hope of recovery. It is definitely a recovery.
For me, there was a key word to this step, and that's ready. I realized that unless I was truly ready, the magic of the steps could never work. And for me, being ready, just to be even in program, was major, because I thought that I knew it all. What did I know? Is anybody ready to share?
Obviously, I'm ready. I was up before. Hi, I'm Evie, grateful, recovering, codependent.
Hi, Evie.
First few times I looked at these steps, and the first time I did the steps, I kind of skipped over step 6 and 7, because I looked at them and I said, well, they're no-brainers. Of course I'm entirely ready to have God remove all my defects of character. Because for me, the biggie is 6. Once I do 6, 7's a piece of cake. But, and I can still picture exactly where I was when it suddenly hit me. No, step 6 is not a no-brainer. It's huge. It was huge for me, because I really hadn't, up until that point, been ready to have God remove all my defects of character. They were there. I had them for a reason. They were serving a purpose in my life. That's where they came from. They were no longer serving the purpose in a way that was working for me. And that's what I had to face. So I look at this step today, totally turned around for me from, oh, it's a no-brainer to this is a really, really, really important step. And I find the minute I do step 6, 7 comes really easy, because for me, the whole issue is, am I ready or am I not ready? And I have to be honest with myself about whether I'm ready or not. Just because I've acknowledged what my defects are doesn't mean I am ready to give them up. So, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
We'll work 7. Humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. Kind of does sound like 6, but I kind of agree. You had to be ready and willing. This step taught me to always be in my truth, which is hard to do. To recognize that I am human and I'm going to make mistakes. Knowing I have my higher power's forgiveness by not repeating my same character defects, then I could forgive myself. So I had to forgive myself first. And then I was able to give it to God and say, now you forgive me. And take it. Take it all.
For me, there was a special magic in the actual act of asking God to remove my shortcomings, especially because the list was just so dang long.
Anybody want to share with 7? Kind of like 6?
This is all interactive, folks.
I'm going to take advantage of this, okay? I just have done the 6 and 7, so that's why I'm up here. Step 6 was the foundation for doing step 7. I had to become entirely ready. And then step 7 was the action I took from laying that foundation. This program is a lot about becoming aware, accepting, and then taking the action necessary to make it happen, to have something come out of that. Becoming entirely ready and becoming accepting that as was shared, those character defects that were harmful weren't working anymore and I need to let them go, but that only God could do that. And that my job was to continually let go. Whenever I took them up again and said, okay, here's my character defect, that my job was not to look for another seminar or another book that I could fix myself, but to trust that only God could do this and that this was my chance to let go. And that my job was to give it over to God constantly. And then in step 7, to ask Him to take those away, knowing God is the only person that is going to be able to take that away, the only thing, the only energy. So thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Hi, step 7 and even step 6 were pretty tough for me because I had this idea of perfectionism. And the idea here that if God's going to remove them, then they should be done, right? They shouldn't come back. I shouldn't have to deal with them again. This is very real. I'm being really honest. This is how it looked for me. And I remember going to my sponsor and asking her about this. I said, but it keeps coming back, you know? And what she told me was that they were ideals that I strive for. And I've also learned through my experience that, much as was just said, it's something that I will have to repeat. It's not an if, but when. I will have to repeat this. And with some of my character defects, it was daily. It was like, by the end of, okay, so Tuesday I'm doing good. Wednesday morning, boom, there it is. And I'm asking again and again. And I found out that was okay. That was good enough. And for that, grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, recovering codependent.
Hi, Greg.
The word up there, humbly. I've done the inventory, and there are a lot of areas that I need improvement in. And honestly, step 7, there's some things that they're relegated to the back burner, that I'm not removing them. I would want to, but I'm in fear of where I would go to replace them. There are some character defects that have been with me for so long, but it's what makes up who I am and my personality, and they're not healthy. But you might say that I'm still used to using the particular crutch to get around on. I don't know if I can liken it to a story. It's like if Jesus said, "You wish to be healed." And the man said, "No, don't touch me because I'm still getting my welfare check." Some people still want what they've got to get by on, and maybe the fear is there of what it is that's going to replace this defect. And that's where I've got to go over these inventory questions again. So I'm glad you guys are doing this because it's giving me food for thought. And as you had mentioned, the lady was just up here before, it's like a continual thing. You got to continue to work it because more and more stuff comes up. You get rid of some stuff and you see, well, there's more garbage underneath that was propping that up. So I know that there's areas I need improvement. And people that know me say, boy, you really got to get that improved. I'm not ready to remove it yet.
Yeah, real quick, Artie, codependent again.
Artie.
Reminds me of the Toyota commercial. You asked for it, you got it. I have a really tough time asking for anything, especially when it comes to God. My experience with asking for things is rejection. I have years of being a salesperson. I used to say I eat rejection for breakfast. And so the amazing thing about this step is every time I've asked God for something, it's pretty immediate now in terms of the response. When I was in Sedona and experiencing this unmanageability, having been there for 6 months, actually a couple weeks before this happened, I had a problem in LA. I was managing this house and I had brought in some tenant that was problematic, and literally there was a lot of problems in the house about managing the house, and people were threatening to leave and call the police and all this kind of stuff. And literally in my meditation, I'm like, please, God, help me, please help me. I was in so much pain. I was crying. And within 24 hours, the owners called to say they were taking the house back. So God does answer my prayers pretty immediately these days. I just have to humbly ask God to. Thank you.
Thank you. Step 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all.
Okay, step 8 to me, it was almost as difficult as step 4. I had multiple pages of people who hurt and harmed me. I didn't have any problem writing down the resentment that I had. But when it came to how many people I might have hurt and I needed to make amends to, I only came up with a half a page. So it's something that's ongoing for me as I think about it. Oh my God, I hurt that person 25 years ago. I write them down. It's amazing to me, even when I did this for the first time, how I had no problem writing all the people that hurt me. But when it came to what I've done to other people, it was a lot more difficult to look in the mirror and see myself. And I continue this step as a part of my program of recovery. And the person, after 4 years of doing this, that I almost forgot was myself. I made amends to me.
For me, this too was going to be a very long list. I understood there was one person I had to put at the top before I could make amends to anybody else, and boy, it was a really long list. But that was myself. Without making amends to myself and working that first, I didn't see how I could make amends to anybody else. And I know that in order to go through any sort of recovery and to recover, that I had to work this step really diligently. Who'd like to share about step 8 for themselves?
Should we do it together, Lisa?
You're a big girl. You can do
Can
it.
I do
Hi, I'm still Evie. Still a grateful, recovering codependent. It's my husband. For me, steps 8 and 9, again, it's hard for me to talk about one without the other one. there's one really, really, really important aspect of steps 8 and 9 for me, and that has to do with my willingness to change my behavior. I am personally so tired of listening to people say, I'm sorry, and then going out and doing the exact same thing 30 seconds later. I taught middle school for 7 years. That happened, constantly. And I would say to the kids, don't say you're sorry unless you're willing to change your behavior. And for me, that's really, really, really important. Sometimes I can't make direct amends to people. Either they're dead, I don't know where they are, it's not safe, because that's an important part of step 9. But I can always change my behavior. So that's a real focus for me today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Abby.
Okay, so I was the kind of codependent that, there was no peace in the Middle East and it was my fault. So my list was really, really long that I owed amends to. And I'm not kidding you. I couldn't even watch the news because bad things were happening in the world. And I felt like I should be doing something. And so a huge part of step 8 for me was I had this fabulous list, really long list, quite the opposite of yours, unfortunately, but it was really, really long. And I needed my sponsor to go through that list with me and to go, no, no, yes, yes, no, 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 no. I needed that. And I have in turn shared that with other women who share, because I only work with women, sorry guys. I share this with other women who have that same propensity to run around making amends, because they breathed. I really encourage them, run that list by somebody before you just start running out making amends, because I got stomped on pretty badly when I tried to do it without that guidance from a sponsor. That is my experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leo.
Hi, Leo.
Y'all remember me? I'm the husband. Anyway, steps 4, 5, 8, and 9 for me are kind of tied together because if I work my step 4 properly, I have my whole step 8 list already there. And if I also take a good look at my step 4, I'll figure out that a lot of the things that I have on there aren't necessarily bad things, but they are things that I do to one extreme or another. My disease is not living in the gray area. My disease is bouncing off walls. I'm either going all the way this way or all the way that way. God forbid I should try to get over there by going that way. It's so much more fun to go boing, 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 boing. So I wind up with broken bones and sore shoulders, but I get there eventually. But if I can just calm down and tame down some of the things I do, then they're not so destructive to you or me. And if I look at the people that I've harmed, most of the people that I've harmed are people that have pissed me off for one reason or another. So I go down and I write down who I'm mad at, okay, and why I hate those people and why I think they ought to die yesterday. And then I've got a good idea of who the people are I owe amends to, because somewhere along the line I screwed something up or screwed them over, and that's why they've retaliated and now I hate them for it. So if I look into that stuff, then I can find out who all these people are and why there's a problem. And I also need to look at that and say, okay, what's the big thing for me to do here? Is it to go grovel at their feet and beg for forgiveness? Hell no. That's just putting me down even further. And I've been down so far, so long, bottom look like up, like they say in the and I don't need to go there. So what I need to do, like my wife said, of course, follow my wife's lead. I'm sorry. That's always the thing to do. My daughter even gave me a shirt that said in big letters, "Yes, dear." And if for all you guys out there, if you can remember those 2 words, you'll have a good relationship. At any rate, if I... No heckling. Now I lost my train of thought. So you did it again, boy. No, so if I can remember where I'm coming from and to remember to change my behavior, like my wife said, rather than just say I'm sorry, that doesn't mean anything. That's the most useless phrase I've ever heard in my life, because chances are I'm not really sorry about how it affected you, but I do not like the way it makes me feel when I act that way. So if I can just say that and then change the way I behave, it all works a lot better. And if I can remember that I have a higher power, I can do all that. Thank you.
I'm going to read step 9.
Okay, step 9, moving right along. We got 2. Make direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Okay, the magic in this step was to teach me to definitely be humble. And I can admit when I make a mistake, when I believe that I made it. And when I am able, and I'm not always able, because some people are gone, I can say, I'm sorry, with an honest heart. When I first would want to make amends, I would think, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to get him to forgive me? And I don't go there. I just let him know that I'm sorry. It's simply said, and it's honest.
One of the things I realized about this step was that I was not going to be able to make amends to everyone that was on my list. For those I was unable to make amends, it was a humbling experience, and that for me was the magic of step 9. No, we need people to share. This is your meeting.
That's right. This will be quick. I just have one thing I want to say. That the most important thing for me in doing step 9 was to realize that it had really nothing to do with the other person. It was all about myself. And that the other person's reaction was none of my business.
Amen.
Very good. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah. I'm Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Yeah, once again, I'm going to go back that whole idea that I had to be first on my list. And I remember in our readings where it said, what would I want someone to do to me if they were saying they were sorry, to make amends? And if that's what I wanted from somebody else, could I expect anything less from myself? And that was brought up earlier about a change in behavior was important. And whereas, as was just shared, it's not important that I get a positive reaction because this is all for me, to take this weight off my shoulder and no longer carry it around. It is important that I reflect enough to say how much I know, how much I hurt somebody, and what I did. And how I was changing that behavior so that I didn't do it again. Because if I was going to continue to do it, then this was wasted. And I wanted it to be sincere. I wanted them to know that I heard them finally, that I heard the pain that I caused, and that I was truly, truly sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
One day at a time. That's what I learned right away. Yesterday's gone. Time for me to let it go. Give it to God, let it go. Every day I say, let it go, sometimes every minute. Today is a brand new day reminding me always to place principles before personalities, which took me a while to really understand what that meant. But it does mean something. And I do it with my daily inventory.
I absolutely love this step. It allows me to, on a regular basis, look at myself in a realistic manner, and it helps me continue to be humble.
My name's Addie. I'm codependent.
Hi, Addie.
I love step 10, and I'm going to say 11 and 12. I see those things going together, and that's what keeps me going day in and day out, one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 minute at a time sometimes. I always take my inventory every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, just because I'm always getting in trouble over something. And if I do that, then that keeps me going. And I so believe in step 11 in terms of daily meditation, daily prayer. And if I'm doing that daily, then step 10 doesn't get so big. And of course, step 12 is what keeps me going. And when I'm giving service, I'm staying in touch with everything I'm staying in touch with what CoDA is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you very much. Anybody else like to share about step 10 and their strengths and experiences and magic?
Just real quick, I try to do step 10 not as a step, not as an occurrence, but as a habitual thing all day long, every day, as long as my eyes are open, to be conscious of what I'm doing, what I'm saying, how I'm doing it, how I'm saying it, who I may be offending, and how I may be presenting myself in a not so good light, and cleaning it up right then and there, so that if I say something that I've obviously offended somebody, I don't have to wait until it's time to go to bed to say, gee, I think I offended somebody. I know it right then and there. Clean it up right then and there. For me, the longer I leave it, the harder it is for me to clean it up. It's just like if the dog messes on the floor. If I clean it right up, fine. If I let it go till tomorrow or the next day, it's a son of a gun to get out of the rug. You know what I mean? So try to clean things quickly. For me, is what step 10 is about. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just want to add real quick to step 10. It took me 26 years to make amends to my ex-husband. It took me being hurt and hit bottom to realize that I devastated him like I was devastated so many years later. And it's never too late. He was very appreciative, and we have a better friendship today because of it. Step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand God. Praying only for the knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. Prayer and meditation is a cornerstone. Oh, that's you, huh, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
Yeah, you did before that.
I'm reading Mark's. I got mine. Where?
Just look at the slide.
Uh-oh.
Sharon, just look right there. Right there.
All right, there we go. My relationship with my higher power is personal to me. I kept my faith and hope. Through my exercising, I conduct my meditation. I walk every day, 2.5 miles in 40 minutes. My mind is free to think and meditate. My conscious contact with my higher power is daily. So is my exercise, however you want to do it. Sometime minute by minute, and my higher power is always with me.
Prayer and meditation is the cornerstone of my recovery. I pray every day to God for the knowledge of His will. I've come to understand that my will is secondary, if I have a will at all. We're almost done.
Anybody want to share? Yeah, we got a little less than 10 minutes. One more step is left.
I feel like that guy at late night. I'm back. This is about asking for God's will and doing that on a daily basis. Remembering again and again that it's only through God's will that I'm going to reach that kind of life that I've been looking for. To fully be who Gary is. To finally quit resisting all the gifts that God has brought to me through every person that has crossed my path by either judging or rejecting whatever gift they had, and to realize that that was part of God's will for me. They brought me this person to help me learn a lesson about myself, and or for me to be a gift for them. But that was God's will. And when I made those decisions, I'm afraid I'm not going to do that. There's too much fear here about this, so I'm just going to go the other way. And to find that I have that higher power that we talked about earlier as being so loving, so caring, never, ever abandoning me, unconditionally loving me. It's easy to do this step in the sense of It helps me start my day by saying, thank you. And what is your will for me today? Help me to remember that, to stay humble, and to accept all those gifts that you're bringing to me today. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, same name, same problem. Yeah, codependent. You know, what I really learned in being with the 12-step program, and I was raised in a parochial school, so we had God, okay, or at least the concept of God. It wasn't until I really got into CoDA and got a 12-step program is where I learned to really get God. You know, what I had before is I had religion. It's amazing that it's like only in the area of CoDA 12-step can we really talk about spirituality. You know, we're not talking about going through formalities and doing religious stuff. No, we're talking about a conscious contact with a higher power. And you notice it's just through prayer and meditation. The way I was raised, it was always, gimme. And I need this, gimme. Oh, and I need this, gimme, gimme. But now the meditation part is where I actually shut up and I listen and hear what God is trying to tell me, and maybe he has work orders for me to do, or hey, you know, do this. But until we learn to meditate and really listen, that's when we improve our conscious contact with God. I guess that's why we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth. And thanks for letting me share.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
Before I forget. Hi, my name's Judy.
Hi,
I'm
Judy.
a codependent. And what I am working on is before I have an interaction with somebody, I pray to God and I put the situation in God's hands, because during the day it's busy, and I know if I pray first and then open my mouth, I have a lot better result. And for me, I work at turning over my day to God and be willing. And this is my favorite step, through God. And also my problems are good because they brought me to this program. In this program, I want to be in touch with my conscious contact with God all the time, not just when I have a problem or issue. So I'm here as preventive measures. I have both. It's like an allergy shot. It's preventative, and then I can use it at any time. So it's a good thing. God is something that's there. I don't have to take a pill and wait 20 minutes. It's like instantly there. So I'm glad for that.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll finish our last step up.
Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other codependents and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Step 12, why we're here. We want to definitely give back everything this program had given to us, because I found my freedom here. I experienced peace and serenity, like I said, for the first time, and it feels definitely like magic because I have this program down through my fingers and in my toes. I've incorporated these steps in my everyday life. Everyone, my friends and my family, they definitely have seen the change in me. So I spread my message, I lead by example. People want what I have, the peace and happiness. I smile now. The happiness and the love and the joy. And like I said, that's contagious too. And it's a personal journey for each of us, but we're never alone and we're never without support. And I want to thank my sponsor, Katie, for being here, because she is absolutely wonderful and she's given me support from the beginning of this program. So thank you very much. And that's where it starts.
For me, being able to share the magic the 12 steps has brought into my life is the true gift of this program. If I'm able to give back even one idea, one ray of hope for another who is suffering, then 12-step recovery works. Definitely works for me. Anybody like to share the magic of their 12th step? I know there's lots of you in here that have shared and have been a part of 12-step for quite some time. This is really a great time for you to share what giving back means to you.
Hi, Artie, grateful, recovering codependent.
Hi, Artie.
Step 12 really took on a new magic for me this year when I came back from Sedona. As I mentioned, it was after 6 months of being away from this fellowship, after 6 months of being with my partner, after 6 months of being away from meetings, my life slowly, if not quickly, started unraveling, and at the peak of it became totally unmanageable. When I had this spiritual awakening on this particular Saturday, I was sharing with a roommate the story of It's a Wonderful Life. And as I talked to him about the magic I got from that movie, I basically shared, because he had never seen the movie before, I basically shared that the James Stewart character, a lot of people see the movie and realize that James Stewart was saved by Clarence the angel by showing him what his life would be without him being in it. But for me, connecting to step 12, the real magic in It's a Wonderful Life is the way that Clarence the angel actually saved James Stewart was when James was on top of the bridge about to jump in. Clarence, the first time in the movie, actually jumped in first so that James had to save him. And that's really the power of step 12 for me, that coming back to Southern California, coming back to CoDA, coming back to the meetings, coming back to being of service, that not only saved my life, but also brought me back home. Thanks for letting me share.
Step 12 for me has been something that's helped me to keep my sanity. And what I have to tell you is that there is no experience greater than watching someone get it. To watch the penny drop, the light bulb goes on, and it's an amazing privilege to witness that in people's lives. And for me, it's my number one way of giving back and giving service. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I think about step 12, I think about it in two ways. The thing just, it's fine. I don't know why I was looking at it. God knows I know it. One is to be willing to share my story, to share my life with other people. I don't have to preach. This is a program of attraction, not promotion. And, to be the best example I can be of what CoDA recovery can be, so that other people may look at it and say, that's what I want for myself. Excuse me. But the other piece of it for me that's really important for me is to do service work in this program. Because without the service work, without those of us that do service, we won't have a program. So, I've done service for most of my years in CoDA, and I will probably always continue to do it in some form. And you can do it at every level: meeting level, intergroup level, voting entity level, world level. I can truly say that so much of the growth for me has come from my service work, because that's where I really, really, really get an opportunity to confront some of my stuff. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.